In every country in the world, cola dominates. We feel that we have to plant our flag everywhere, even before the Christians arrive. Cola's destiny is to inherit the earth.
There is a company that is home to a sacred formula, a secret so closely guarded it is locked away in a dark vault. Although it is over a century old and consumed around the globe, no more than 3 living people ever know the exact recipe. It is the formula for Coca-Cola, a brand consumed more than 900 million times every day.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love.
But Coca-Cola's most important ingredient cannot be kept in a vault.
So white turtle doves.
The camera is panning to these happy, beatific faces. They're filled with the spirit.
I keep it company.
They're all very prayerful. There's a very strong conformity of purpose. It's uniting all peoples. There is one God, and that God is Coke.
All night, all day, angels watching over me, my Lord. All night, all day, angels watching over me. All night.
Now 15,000, now 1,500, up $1,000 bill, now 1,500, now 1,500, up $1,000 bill over here, now 1,500, come on, 1,500, up 15, now 2,000. Know what you're looking at.
Coca-Cola is your friend, and wherever you go, you always want a friend, and you feel like you know Coca-Cola regardless of where you go. Coca-Cola is there. It's like coming home to mother.
Number 15, 17, 50 then. Number 15, now 17 and a half. Number 15, now 17 and a half. Come on, 17 and a half.
The first one that I ever drunk on the street, I thought I was going to die because I sneezed through my nose. And it just like to blowed my head off.
Well, these are the Coca-Cola sunglasses, which is very comfortable. This is the first time I ever had them on because they're a collector's piece. I don't
Here's a 1929 Coca-Cola soda tray. And did you notice how they use ladies on all their serving trays? I believe that's what sold Coca-Cola a lot was, they'll probably get held for this, the exploit of women.
They're not too slutty looking, that's for sure. They all have a very definite elegance.
Ice cold Coke, $2. Ice cold. That's my last one. Coke. It's your Coke. Ice cold Coke, $2.
Devotion to a product that is 99% sweetened water has little to do with taste and everything to do with image. The creation of Coca-Cola as the most recognized brand name on earth is a story of marketing genius that begins over a century ago.
Now 2,000, number 1,500, now $2,000.
In the heat and dust of Civil War ruin, the South rebuilds. America is changing from a land of farmers to an urbanized society, and the rapid pace of life brings a host of new afflictions. Southerners become hooked on painkillers for their wounds and tonics for their nerves. They are the perfect prey for a new army of medicine men selling patent elixirs.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my great privilege many years ago, whilst traveling through the mountains of Paraguay, to find the Yakwi Indians drinking the juice out the cacti. I have here tonight a few bottles, which I am selling for $1. It cures horseland! Only the first to buy a bottle.
On the cobblestone streets of Atlanta, a patent medicine man named John Pemberton hurries back to his lab. Like many Civil War veterans wounded in battle, Pemberton is addicted to morphine and looking for a cure.
Some people collect stamps and coins or baseball cards or whatever, cars. I set out to collect information about John Pemberton because I realized early on that practically nothing was known about the man. You'd think that the creator of the most successful commercial product in the history of mankind, you'd think that we know a little bit about him.
John Pemberton was a genius who knew a great deal about different herbs. And as the steamships began to bring more and more exotic ingredients from all over the world, and he started reading about these in international drug journals, he became very excited about the properties of the coca leaf from Peru and the cola nut from West Africa. I think he was particularly interested in the coca leaf because he saw cocaine, which is the principal alkaloid of the coca leaf, he saw cocaine as a possible way to get off of morphine.
Pemberton begins his experiments by combining the extracts of the coca leaf and the cola nut in his version of a popular French wine drink. Cocaine, the latest wonder drug, is widely believed to relieve fatigue and increase sexual desire. The cola nut adds a dose of caffeine. Soon, Pemberton's French wine coca is selling as an exotic cure-all. It may not be that, but the buzz is unmistakable.
In 1885, Atlanta voted to go dry. And so he decided that he'd better take the alcohol content out of French wine coca. And he modified it over the winter of 1885-86. And by May, he had perfected it, and he had named it Coca-Cola.
Pemberton went down to Joseph Jacobs Pharmacy in downtown Atlanta, one of the most popular soda fountains in the town. And he had a flask with him. It was marked Coca-Cola syrup. And he asked the soda fountain clerk, if you don't mind, put about an ounce of this in the bottom of a glass. It's good for headaches and what have you. So the man turned to a person at the soda fountain who had had a little bit too much to drink the night before and said, we got something for headaches and a hangover you should try. And it seemed to work pretty well.
On May 29th, Pemberton places the first Coca-Cola ad in the Atlanta Journal. His partner works on a logo, while Pemberton looks for a way to distribute his drink.
Pemberton found a bargain on barrels that he could ship the syrup in, and they were already red. And it just happened to be a color that would distinctively identify his product.
Soon a red and white banner hangs outside Jacobs Pharmacy, advertising Coca-Cola in an elegant U script. And the logo looks like it just might last. But Coca-Cola never brings its inventor his fortune or his cure. At 57, still hooked on morphine, an ailing Pemberton sells off the pieces of his company. He dies penniless, never knowing his formula will make countless others rich. In 1888, a pharmacist and devout Methodist picks up the pieces of John Pemberton's failed dream. He is one of a new breed of Southern businessmen who believe in making money as a form of worship.
This is a portrait of my great-great-grandfather, Asa Griggs Candler, who was the founder of the Coca-Cola Company and is quite often referred to in Atlanta as the Coca-Cola King. Asa suffered from really severe headaches, and a friend recommended that he go down to Jacob's Pharmacy, that there was a new product that Pemberton had come up with called Coca-Cola. And it was a headache and hangover remedy. So Asa traipsed down there to try it, and he was immediately relieved. He decided right then and there he had to buy the formula.
Candler is a devoted family man, a Sunday school teacher, and a committed capitalist. He modifies the flavorings of Pemberton's formula and codenames them 7X. Obsessed with secrecy, Candler removes the labels from the ingredients, never writes down the formula, and does his own mixing behind the locked gates of his Atlanta mansion.
He treated it like the Holy of Holies. It was a very secretive procedure. Only certain people were allowed to be there, and you had to be able to smell the ingredients and know that they were right and be able to taste it. He had to be able to roll that syrup over his tongue and know that the mixture was correct. He referred to Coca-Cola all of his life as my golden elixir, and he believed it with a fervor that many missionaries have about their faith.
American advertising really grew out of the patent medicine industry. If you were trying to sell a sewing machine, you didn't need to advertise it. People needed sewing machines. Patent medicines, nobody really did need. They really didn't work, most of them. So in order to sell the patent medicines, you had to really push them, and you had to make outrageous claims.
Candler's claims are directed mainly to businessmen. A Coca-Cola taken at 8, he promises, energizes the brain till 11. Like a prophet, Candler sends his missionaries across the South to promote his new drink. The outrageous message they're delivering is the beginning of modern advertising.
Come, let's take a wander down to the old drugstore, where the man says Coca-Cola.
The soda fountain was an adjunct to the drugstore, and when these drinks were purveyed there, they were purveyed as drinks that were refreshing and healthful. And among them, Coca-Cola came to be an important drink.
They started getting letters, particularly from women, saying, please stop advertising this stuff as a patent medicine, because I like it. I like to drink it. I don't want to feel like I have to be sick to drink this stuff. So Candler said, hey, there are more alive, well people out there than there are sick people. Why not advertise to the masses?
Coca-Cola as brain tonic soon becomes delicious and refreshing, a drink for young moderns. Next, Candler turns his attention to women, who are an increasingly important market. But the seductive and wholesome Coca-Cola girl is also meant to attract thirsty men. For the first time, Candler is selling an image, not just a drink. And he puts that image everywhere.
They had Japanese fans that said Coca-Cola. They had calendars, they had watches. They were very clever to put it on things that people would consult, would look at. They put it on a mirror because people look in a mirror. They put it on a calendar because people look at a calendar. They'd put it on matchbooks because, you know, you strike a match to light your pipe or whatnot.
Candler hires itinerant artists to paint the logo on barns and the sides of buildings. Soon the elegant script can be seen in every state and territory in the U.S. On the eve of the 20th century, Candler is selling 36 million Coca-Colas a year and spending an unheard of 20% of his revenues on advertising. By 1904, Coca-Cola is so successful that Candler commissions a skyscraper in his own name. The first building in Atlanta to tower over the church steeples. In the cornerstone, he places a copper box containing his picture and a bottle of Coca-Cola.
The word Coca-Cola was almost magic. In the early days, if you hung a canvas sign out, you were an immediate business success because everybody was enamored with the drink and they all wanted to try it. And if your corner grocery store sold it, then immediately people would go there. And so some other drinks came out. These are what we refer to gently as imitators. This is Coca-Nola, and this is Coke, C-O-K-E. And this one, an imitator, this is Pepsi-Cola.
Pepsi was begun in New Bern, North Carolina by a young pharmacist named Caleb Bradham. He used to always experiment with these different tonics and formulas and came across one drink that became very popular to the locals, and it was nicknamed by the locals Brad's drink.
Like Coca-Cola, Brad's drink starts as a Southern tonic. Its active ingredient, pepsin, is used to treat indigestion. And like Coke, it works, sort of.
Eventually, the word had spread out what a good drink it was, and Bradham figured he better come up with something that was a lot more marketable, so he came up with the name Pepsi-Cola.
There were all sorts of people who had probably very fine drinks, but they put them in a bottle that used either the word Coca or Coke or Cola. And the Coca-Cola company, of course, had had their trademark for a long, long time, and they said, hey, wait a minute, it's not fair to trade on our name.
Soon, there are scores of imitators. The upstart Pepsi is selling over 500,000 gallons of syrup a year. So Candler looks for something new. What he comes up with is a bottle called the Hobbleskirt. Its inspiration is clear to everyone.
They wanted a very easily identifiable bottle, something that anyone would know was a Coca-Cola. And so one of the criteria was a bottle you could hold in your hand in the dark and know that it was a Coca-Cola.
2 bottles of Coca-Cola.
Yeah?
Make sure it's Coca-Cola. All them bottles look pretty much alike.
Not now, they don't.
Is that Coca-Cola?
Yes, sir. And that's the brand new bottle for Coca-Cola. The Hobbleskirt bottle. They patterned it after the Hobbleskirt Betty wears.
Pretty nifty, huh? I'll take the Hobbleskirt. I'll take Betty.
It will be touched by men and women the world over. Generations will embrace it. Artists will be inspired by it. In darkness, it will feel like a moment of pleasure is within reach. And in light, it will be seen as the shape of refreshment.
It's ironic that Coca-Cola had taken all of the cocaine out by 1903, and yet people continued to think that it had drugs in it. It was called dope all throughout the South, or a shot in the arm, or a morning's morning, or another brick in the Candler building. They still use the coca leaf to this day in their drink, but they decocainize it first, so there's absolutely no cocaine in Coca-Cola anymore. In a way, the idea that Coke had this mysterious, sinful quality to it helped. It wasn't just a soft drink. It had a little touch of sin.
Oh, mother, you wouldn't know your child. Oh, mother, I'm getting awfully wild. I am drinking Coca-Cola now.
If it did give it an allure, I will say this. I have a cousin on the other side of my family, not connected with Coca-Cola, who went to school, and the head woman in their dorm would tell them, now, girls, nice girls, never, ever take 2 aspirins and a Coca-Cola. It makes you do wild things. It makes you do things you will regret. As soon as we were out for our afternoon of freedom, we would head to the nearest drugstore, buy a bottle of aspirins, and we would sit there at the counter and drink Coke and take aspirins and see what it made us do.
Each girl began to shimmy and shake. Then where she hollered out, goodness sake, oh, mother, if you could just see, this is the life, dear, for me.
The U.S. government actually sued Coca-Cola in a very widely publicized trial in Chattanooga in 1911. Harvey Wiley, who was the father of the Food and Drug Administration, personally decided that he hated Coca-Cola. He didn't think that they should have caffeine in a drink that children were drinking. And what Coca-Cola did to defend itself at this trial regarding children was to say, no, children don't drink it, which was preposterous because clearly they did. But ever since 1911, Coca-Cola had an unwritten rule never to show a child under 12 in an advertisement drinking the beverage. So they were sort of put in a spot. How are they going to appeal to children? Because they still wanted to get kids to drink this stuff.
Coca-Cola's answer is to use youthful models, to come close to the line, but not go under it. They know a kid who grows up on Coke is the best guarantee there is of a future drinker. But Coke's message also appeals to nostalgia for a simpler life. Kids 12 and over, and fishing ponds, rendered by America's best artists like Norman Rockwell. For 2 decades, ads linking Coke to life's special moments barely change.
Very few people know that Coca-Cola actually gave us our modern version of Santa. Before Coke came along, Santa Claus was St. Nick. You know, St. Nicholas was a tall, sort of severe, skinny guy who often wore green or yellow or sometimes red. In 1931, Coca-Cola hired Haddon Sundblom, and he painted a fat, jolly St. Nick who wore Coca-Cola red.
Haddon Sundblom was known as the leader of the Chicago School of Illustrators. A whole bunch of other illustrators, Harry Anderson and Pruitt Carter and people like that, all studied and painted his way. But Haddon, he had the Irish virus himself. You know, he liked to tipple, as they say, and they were afraid maybe he'd croak, so they had him do like 5 years of Santa Clauses into the future.
Those associations that go back to an early age are very important to us. I'm sure you know, as I do, lots of adults who eat the most terrible food and say it's wonderful because it's the way Mama used to make it. How do we get back the past? And one of the ways is by consumption. So that consuming something that brings back earlier associations is very important to people, particularly a commodity that has, by this time, acquired so much special weight in the society.
After 50 years of image making, Candler's Brain Tonic has become an icon, the most advertised consumer product in America. But even Coke's ad men know consumer loyalty, like youth, doesn't last forever.
Long before a campaign is started, there is basic marketing thinking. There is, what is our problem? Research it. Let's find out where are the weaknesses. What are people saying about us? You know, they would go out and they would find out what are people saying about the product Coca-Cola. What are people saying about the communications that Coca-Cola is giving? Mostly people had nice thoughts about it. Through the years, great credit all the way back to the Candlers, for crying out loud, who had Norman Rockwell and N.C. Wyeth and people like that doing their ads.
Birds and bees and all the flowers and trees.
In Candler's era, Coca-Cola's image comes from print ads. By the 60s, the new pitchmen are masters of song and film, but the message remains the same.
Sun beating down on the back of my neck and nothing on my mind. An ice cold Coke on the back of my throat, say hello summertime.
Birds and bees and all the flowers and trees and fishes on the line.
The old Coca-Cola company that I started working for, the brand was a religion. Really, it was a religion. It had made them all rich. It had never been defiled, and they really saw this as an icon. We stuck very close to the basic ideas of our campaigns. We didn't wander. If it was things were better with Coca-Cola, it was somebody who had a Coke, and there was just that much little more brightness in his or her life. And there were natural times when you wanted a Coca-Cola. And same with It's the Real Things. We picked We picked what the Times thought were real things, but that's all we did. We didn't get deeper than that. And because real things were sort of very American, basic things, it kept us very Norman Rockwell.
I was raised on country sunshine, green grass beneath my feet.
The most intense story that we ever told of a girl and a guy was probably the story in Country Sunshine. It was a story of a girl who'd obviously been in the city coming back to a simple farm. We picked a long, long road for her to come up with. And when she got out of the car, you could see she was sophisticated. Mom and Dad were corn farmers, and that was how the commercial was supposed to end. And a very smart art director named Dante Torriello saw the boy from the farm next door had come over in an old truck just to watch the commercial, and he said, that's how it has to end. She can't just come all the way home just to see Mom and Dad. It has to be the boy next door. So that whole scene of this guy who'd never been an actor before in his life, Don said, look, this is a beautiful girl. You've loved her all your life. Now, we've got about 2 more takes before sundown. Let's get them. Jump out of that truck like you've been waiting for all your life.
What you're hoping to find like country sunshine. The real thing, Coca-Cola.
The Coca-Cola company used to say, you know, Coca-Cola is what you serve on the front porch, and Pepsi is what you serve on the back porch. And, and that really was the attitude in those early days. But my job, I always thought, was to keep it special and yet not keep it just exclusively for the front porch.
Be sociable, look smart, keep up to date with Pepsi.
With Coke as the exclusive #1, Pepsi is stuck on the back porch. But by the early 50s, Pepsi isn't satisfied, so it attempts to change its image.
The commercials were always so stuffy and boring, and they all kept trying to tell people that these are the kinds of people who drink Pepsi. These stuffy, terrible people, the sociables. Al Hoffman, a dear friend, said, let's have lunch, I want to show you some lines. Now, I wish I had brought the prop along, because I had it, I don't have the lines anymore, but he came to lunch with 4 pieces of yellow fool's cap, you know, typewriter paper, on which, in every single corner, he had written theme lines for Pepsi-Cola. And at the end of around 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I said to Al Hoffman, on one of these sheets is the greatest idea that Pepsi-Cola has ever had. And he said, tell me what it is. I said, no, you find it. And I said, he looked around and said he couldn't find anything at all. I said, it's on this sheet. And I handed him the sheet it was on. And he searched all over the sheet, here and there. I said, tell me, God damn it, tell me. And I finally said, it's right here. And there were 2 words, Pepsi Generation.
Come alive, come alive. You're in the Pepsi generation.
Charlie Brower, the president, said to me, I hate this line. I hate the word generation. Why can't you say the Pepsi group or the Pepsi gang or the Pepsi crowd? I said, because generation is big. That's big league. We're staking a claim to all of the youth of America.
There's a whole new way of living.
Until now, Pepsi's been just another cola. But in the early 60s, all that changes. Pepsi's ad men get hip. Kids become the target, and the battle of image begins.
It's the Pepsi generation coming at you, going strong. Put yourself behind the Pepsi. If you're living, you belong.
One of the big thoughts in there is the notion of a soft drink as a badge, as something as something saying who you are and what social groups you aspire to and hang with. And I think that was the big leap in that advertising, and I think it took it out of the sort of the another product category and put it into the icon category.
Coke has been the big all-American brand, and Pepsi was always a street brand. It's more like the brand to the left more of a renegade brand, more of a down and dirty brand.
You're a whole new generation. You're dancing through the day.
By the early 80s, Pepsi's market share has grown to 20%. Then Pepsi launches the biggest celebrity ad ever made, and the Cola Wars explode.
Choices up to you. Hey, you're the Pepsi generation. 'Cause I'm down.
It just looked real. And it made Pepsi, I think, the real icon, the real thing, even though it's Coke's line. It made it realer. It made it the realer thing. It made you think, you know, even if you were 40, maybe I'd be liking that brand, you know? Maybe I would be liking that brand.
You know, it happened right here 20 years ago.
Right here, Mom?
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola's response is a middle-aged version of its most successful ad ever.
I like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees.
Nostalgia may not be as cool as Michael Jackson, but it sells.
Candy hot your world. Candy hot it. The feeling you get from a Coca-Cola classic. Can't beat the feeling.
By the end of the 80s, Coke is still the real thing. But Pepsi's the cutting-edge drink and gaining fast.
The kill ratio on Pepsi ideas is about, you know, like 100 to 1. So, like, you know, there are guys, junior guys, who just, like, convinced they're never going to sell a Pepsi spot because, you know, they've walked in with 50 ideas and it's like skeet shooting.
1.7 years at wedding. 1.5 hours at the opera.
And do you think those are the ones I've chosen for
A
now?
little tough.
It's a little tough.
Dung beetle.
Which leaves 5.1 months for pure, unadulterated, mindless.
Making fun commercials about a fun drink is anything but fun. The cost is enormous, the stakes astronomical. This 30-second Pepsi commercial will be seen by 95% of all Americans at least once over the course of the next year.
No. Burger with cheese. Hey, no, I said a buddy burger, buddy cheese, funny. Come on now. Buddy, listen up. Forget it, all right? Come on now. Forget the burger. Forget the fries. Okay, just give me a large Pepsi. All I really want is a Pepsi. Pepsi. Yeah. Action, guys.
With very little difference between Pepsi and Coke, all either drink is selling is image. And image, as any ad man knows, is hard to define. But it's got to come across loud and clear.
You need to get the intercom fixed.
The Cola Wars, which Pepsi embraces and Coke claims not to exist, cost billions a year in advertising and reach into every corner of American life. In the South Bronx, Coca-Cola hires a group of local artists to claim one small piece of the battlefield.
We met with the ad agency who was handling the account at the time. They explained to us that there's an art contest with high school students, and what happens is each year they choose 3 winners, and part of the incentive of the contest is that they get their work showcased in different locations throughout the city.
This wall right here itself was like really empty. So now you have like Coca-Cola walls here. You have kids in the community also painting. Instead of doing vandalism on walls now they go into stores owners and do like, similar work what we're doing.
A regular sign painter can't go into the ghettos of New York City and do these murals. And, they'll last because they won't last. And we can go out there and we can actually spray paint these walls because we're using spray paint, something that the kids identify with. Their Picassos are the guys with the spray cans.
Coca-Cola has always employed the best artists to sell its image. from Norman Rockwell to Picasso's with spray cans. But by the 90s, what was once the intuitive realm of artists has grown into a sophisticated science of persuasion.
What we're going to be doing tonight is gathering your public opinion. This is ASI Market Research, and we are an independent research organization. We're hired by other companies to go out and gather public opinions on a variety of different things.
Here you go.
Thanks, darling.
Here's cold. Woo!
What can I get you?
Blueberry pie and Pepsi.
Got it.
Good song. Great song.
Market researchers measure our emotions moment by moment.
Working late on the holidays.
Yeah, it's hard on the kids.
Nice bills here.
They want to know why we choose one cola over the other when their tastes are virtually the same.
Something that I came to recognize in my work with patients, as they would talk about what their troubles were, about their lives, occasionally they would refer to something they'd seen in a commercial, and I didn't really pay much attention to it until I had work with, I just call her Amy, that's not her real name, and she referenced that she wasn't part of the Pepsi generation at one point. She felt like she had never been part of the youth generation that was singing and dancing and having a fine time. Now she felt like she was too old to ever be part of the Pepsi generation. She was internalizing images from advertising and integrating that into a set of expectations about who she was supposed to be.
In Times Square, we're bombarded with million-dollar images telling us who we're supposed to be. But even in this consumer circus, one product dominates.
It takes more than material things to be happy. It takes more than that Mercedes. It takes more than that gold bracelet.
Coca-Cola has been promising us happiness ever since Asa Candler first packaged Image in a bottle. Today, the Coca-Cola Company is a $150 billion soft drink colossus, and Coke is the most recognized brand name in the world. Pretty smart advertising for a sugar drink that started out life as a brain tonic.
Keep ahead of the trend, try to watch how you spend. But in the end, money's not your friend. Just hold on tight, try to spend it right. Maybe you and him spend the money Saturday night. Isn't it funny when you don't have no money? Yo, isn't it funny when you don't have no money? Yo, isn't it funny when you don't have no money?
That happiness that you get from the alcohol is artificial. That happiness that you get from drugs is artificial. But there ain't nothing like the real thing. You need the real thing. You need real joy. You need real happiness.
You look at Coke's advertising, it's like a religious mantra. Coke is selling a continuity of life through generations and a bond through life throughout different cultures. What is really basic and essential about humans. It goes to the level of a kind of spiritual bond. There's all that harmony in distinction to how someone is actually feeling. So the sense is, I'm not there. I wish I could live in harmony. You know, I wish the world were this kind of place. Yes, if only, but there's that gap. And you don't get there through drinking Coke.
Oh, taste Coca-Cola.
I'd like to talk a little bit here about the Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, because I find it such an interesting American institution. It's visited by a very large number of people, and when you go in and pay your money, you're taken to the top floor. And then the only way to get out is by walking down the stairs. So there's no way not to get the Coke message. The first thing I saw there on getting to the top floor was a short film in which a man with silver hair and a fatherly expression said to us,
"You know, in the final analysis, Coca-Cola really doesn't belong to us. It belongs to you. To anyone and to everyone who has ever shared a moment with a Coke."
I had the feeling I was in the presence of God. Then the film follows with the most wonderful music, and everybody of every complexion, size, and shape worldwide is drinking Coke. Eskimos, Zulus, the whole world is on a kind of kick. It's a kind of embodiment of the spirit of Coke. The whole notion of things go better with, the whole notion of brain tonic, the whole notion of refreshment, of good fellowship, bon ami. People, when they're together, they're happy, and when they're happy, they drink Coke, and when they drink Coke, they're happy and they're together, so that the messages are intertwined in this wonderfully convincing way. And this temple, this synagogue, this church of consumption is analogous to the holy medicine bundles of the American Indians, who used objects, sacred objects, which they held together in a little packet as the kind of central thematic expression of their identity as a people. In some ways, the Coke Museum is like a medicine bundle.
In Candler's time, sales meetings are closed with onward Christian soldiers. Then the missionaries hit the road. Still today, for some at least, Coke is a matter of faith. As a symbol for his religion, Christ chose the wheat seed. The Reverend Howard Finster chooses a symbol that is equally recognizable today.
When Christ made a parable of the wheat seed, why did he do it? Because everybody knew what a wheat seed was. And that's the way it is about the Coca-Cola bottle. When they see that Coca-Cola bottle, they go to it. And they may be Christians and they may not be Christians. They may be foreigners, they may be infidels, whoever they are. They go to that bottle and know what it is, and they'll read maybe some of my little slogans and things. I have a slogan where it says, "Past time never returns, and future time is only a hope, and the present time's all you got." And I'm getting thousands of quotations out that people's never heard, in order to influence them to the saving of their soul. Cap up there at there's heaven as high as you can go, and the bottom says down there, that's as low as you can go. So between as low as you can go and high as you can go, Coca-Cola comes right in there from the time you're born, and it's with you when you die.
Over a century ago, Asa Candler took a unique formula and a flair for image making and made them into something akin to a religion. Candler originally bought Coca-Cola for $2,300. By 1917, the company is worth $25 million. Candler has always seen Coke as a family trust, but he's 65 and tired. He decides to give the company to his children.
Nothing else gives you the bracing sparkle and the bright little lift that's so delightfully yours in ice-cold Coca-Cola. Coke has a distinctive flavor all its own that no one has ever succeeded in matching.
Actually, I got the story from his granddaughter, Laura Candler Chambers, who, you have to understand, I'm going to give you her version of it. When I interviewed her, she said, please understand I was a little girl. She was 7, maybe. They would have Christmas every year, of course, at her grandfather's. There would be the big gift exchange. He started handing out these envelopes, and my parents got an envelope, and all my aunts and uncles got an envelope. And what worried Aunt Laura was she was afraid she was going to get an envelope, and what she really wanted was a present to unwrap, hopefully a doll to play with, which she ended up getting. But in those envelopes were the shares of the Coca-Cola Company.
After he had given his children the majority of the stock, they sold the company without telling their father, and it damn near killed him. He just hated it. Not only that, they had sold it to a syndicate of bankers headed by Ernest Woodruff. And Asa Candler hated Ernest Woodruff, as did almost everybody in Atlanta. He was known as a very powerful, very stingy businessman.
He was, of course, really hurt. He had given this to them thinking, well, it's a cash cow. The money will always roll in. It's a wonderful product, and if you just manage it right, it will be fine. However, they couldn't manage it because they couldn't get along.
At Christmas time in 1924, Candler finds himself alone at the Biltmore Hotel in New York City. He writes to his son, "I never go out. I am terribly lonely. Once I was counted as one of the movers and shakers of Atlanta, and my children looked up to me. Now, I'm a nobody."
When people did, in fact, have a notion of a deity, their identity was shaped in a certain important way by relation to that deity. To the extent that that feeling has been replaced by the notion that you can build yourself over into what you want to be by consuming, to that extent, consumption has replaced an older ideology. If I drive a Mercedes-Benz, wear a Rolex watch, take my vacations in San Moritz, and otherwise demonstrate to the world the kind of person I am, the kind of person I am is the kind that consumes in that way. It says nothing about my character, it says nothing about my relationships to other people, but I have an identity that's been built up by companies. And yeah, that's where consumerism takes us. And it is, in this sense, a new religion.